All you got to do is watch the bears dancing in the back, and you can see us moving around, saying good morning to everybody and waiting for people to get on. Woohoo!
Good morning.
Good morning. We're about to go live. Good morning. Hey, Vincent. Hey,
I
buddy.
love all the feedback. Yay.
Hey, Vivian. Good morning. We're getting ready to go. Hey, Ron. Woohoo! Tracy's on there. Hey, Tracy. Good morning. Madison in Alaska. Hello in Alaska. Wendy's there. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, there's Faye. Hey, Faye. I hope you have your coffee. You're going to need it today.
Brandy.
Hey, Brandy.
Good morning.
Katie. And our dog is growling in the back. Good morning, Vivian. And there's Cratchit in the background saying, "Row, row, row." That's our dog. Hey, good morning, Katie. Amber, good morning from your house.
Yay!
It's a very, very fine house. Nicely done. Good job. Woohoo!
Ready?
Are you guys ready for a good morning?
Yes. Yes.
Here we are.
Okay.
Justice! Good morning, Justice. There she is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to you the most amazing person that's in this household besides Joshua.
Cratchit, get in here.
Yeah, no, here comes my beautiful wife, Leah Bailey. Here she is. Good morning.
The crowd goes wild. Okay, hi. Good morning. How is everybody doing? I can see you. I'm just kidding. Don't want to creep you out. So, I want you guys to, okay, just so you know, on the other side of the camera, there's a lot of sign language going on. There's a lot of looks and, so whenever you do this, know that I'm also looking at them. But anyway, this morning is a good morning. You know why? Because I chose it. I woke up at 3 in the morning. To be honest, this is real life. Real life. And I woke up with anxiety at 3 in the morning. Right now, work is crazy and just becoming so kind of overwhelming. But I know in my heart it doesn't last forever. I've learned that over the years, where it's like if I'm in the middle of something, I know it's not going to last forever. And I know, I'm going to tell you all that right now. A lot of us have been celebrating birthdays and celebrations of new homes and stuff like that. That is cool. And God says to think on good things. So congratulations. I am super excited to be invited over for dinner, just all you know. Okay. Not really kidding. But anyway, so last week we talked about serving. We talked about serving others, which takes a view of you off of you. It helps you become a more positive person and all that. Remember I said a cup of cold water is all you really need, and you're just like, yeah, whatever. Just try it. Remember, just try it. Try to give a bottle of water to a homeless at a stoplight. They love it. I've given them that. I mean, there's just so many ways we can serve. But today, we're going to talk about the new normal is what they keep saying. But, okay, remember the normal life we had? I don't know how long ago it's been. But right now, we're kind of in just a weird stage. And I'm just going to tell you guys, this is not going to last forever. And I know you guys don't think that. And we keep saying, oh my gosh, we're going now into fall term for school and how to juggle from my work and from how your kids are going to be taught. And it seems like chaos in so many levels. However, I just want you guys to know it's not going to last forever. Because the cool thing about God is He hasn't changed. Not even through this. And I know it doesn't feel that way because I wake up with anxiety and go, it just feels gripping. But I want to talk about the word normal. I believe sometimes God allows there to be a time where he takes you away from your normal. And it's actually a gift. I know that sounds crazy in some areas, because even like chaos, it's like, no, this can't be from God. I think sometimes God allows things in our life so that we could be pulled away from our familiar mind, and he wants to rewire your mind. And it is hard. John says not to say hard, he says to say it's difficult, because if we say it's hard, then we won't do it. I get that psychology, I do, but it is hard. And I get it. But today I'm going to talk about a verse that has really hit my heart. So Joshua, our son, is now, he's now being told, after getting a great opportunity to teach freshman anatomy nurses, teach them, and it's a paid position. It's really great to teach in college. I mean, what a cool honor. But now they're not sure if they're going back to school. We have Eric on here, Eric Cochran, that is now gonna think he's gonna have to go online and teach himself again. It's really weird right now. But what if that your time right now is God wanting to speak to you? And remember, we said at the very, very beginning, don't miss it. Pay close attention, because you could miss the very thing that God is speaking to you. He takes you away from your normal to bring you into a change in your life, to become a new normal. And it's exciting, because it says to be thankful for the challenges in our life. And I think that's the craziest verse, but I've actually noticed it does help. Okay, so the verse, I'm going to get to it. So you can write it down, go back and look at it. I just suggest rereading it. It's 1 Peter 4:10 through 11. God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Okay, stop there. I know all of us have amazing individual gifts. Wouldn't it be incredible is through this time that God has given you to rethink and revamp. Yes, even through what you've lost, we have taken loss in our lives, to teach you the gift you don't even know. Remember, I said that true identity comes from God. So obviously he knows us better, because he created us. He did a wonderful job. And I think sometimes, how right now the schools have very little creative classes. Just being honest, there's not a lot of we were just talking, my son and I, last night about there's not a lot of performing arts in school. So like choir, art, remember home ec back in the day. I remember that there's a part of your brain that's a creativity brain part, and when that's not tapped into, how do you know it's there? And I think it's kind of amazing how when we see other people and we go, gosh, you are really good at this, and they're kind of amazed, like, hey, how did you see that? Well, we got to see it in ourselves too. So take this time, this new crazy time, and try to identify what your gift is. And so it goes on to say, use them well to serve one another. So there's that word serve again. So do you have the gift of speaking? So I know some of you that are sitting on that couch right now have a gift of speaking. I'd like to see your voice on social media a little more. Then speak as though God himself were speaking through you. Well, that's what we do want, for sure, because we don't want our human nature to speak. Do you have the gift of helping others? There are so many that do, so many. And we are gripped with a fear of, well, I'm not going to be good enough to give. But you know what? Stop that. Just stop that, there's a lady in our that we know, and she heard that one of our friends in Washington needed a kidney. And so what she do? Just automatically says, hey, I'd like to donate. How do I do it? Who does that? Other than, if you have that gift, then you do it well. And she did. And she spoke to me of like, what am I missing that I'm not doing well? So that's her gift. May not be your gift to give a kidney, but it was hers. Do it with all the strength and energy that God supplies. Now, okay, that's assuming that we have strength and energy. How many of you feel like when you get up in the morning that you're like, all right, so today I knew I'd be on here at 10 a.m. and you guys think that, they've always, they just do it for us, and they have a smile, and how do they do it? Well, today I knew the only way I could be here was saying I committed to myself and to God, and I need to get up at 6 a.m. to be fresh because I am ugly. So what I'm saying, guys, is God thinks you have the strength and energy to do it. He thinks you have a gift. So take this time, even in the chaos, and ask what God's doing. He may be changing everything in your life, but it's always for the best. He always wants to see us to have success. So don't forget that. It wasn't going to last forever, and He wants success in your life. So if He may turn you completely upside down right now, just know it's not going to last forever, and just know He wants the best for you. Okay? One last quote that I just heard last night. Okay, we all are a little scared through these things. Believe me, I'm scared sometimes. It says, don't remain in misery because you are afraid of change. Just remember that this week. Don't remain in that misery part because you're afraid. Because, it's a brilliant world out there that we have not even tapped to. And to 1% of it, guaranteed. So if you are in that place, and believe me, there's going to be good and bad, because if we don't have the bad, we won't grow. We won't. If you have always good, you're just going to be soft. So just remember, guys, this isn't going to last forever. I'm kind of glad we're not in the normal, to be honest. It hurts, but I really want to see what God's doing because He hasn't changed. He loves you. He cares about you, your character, and your identity. And He wants you to know so that you can actually serve. That's the most important thing you can do. Right. My handsome husband.
Good morning, everybody. Woohoo! Good to be together. So we have a lot of things that are in our control. Just as an example, let me just kind of point out just something that is just kind of a simple thing that may be in your life, maybe not in your life, but it is in our life, all because of my son Joshua, who decided that he was going to bring some new tech into our world. So you ready for this? Alexa, set timer for 1 minute. Are you ready for this?
1 minute, starting now.
So 1 minute.
If you'd like, you can give multiple commands without saying Alexa every time. To enable this feature, just ask me to turn on follow-up mode.
See, isn't that great? So not only does that individual, that I won't repeat the name because it'll wake up again, not only does it look at what I'm saying, but it gives me options as to what I can also do. And so let's just be a little bit chaotic for a second. Wouldn't it be nice if in our life we could have some Zinsser covers up stained ceiling paint? And there's stains in our life, and wouldn't it be great if we could just spray them away? Just again, 1 minute of true chaos while we're going through this. Chili peppers, not the common snack. You don't just open this up, dip in, and start eating because, well, these are hot. But it's amazing what you can do with these if you take time to soak them and turn them into a wonderful Indian vindaloo sauce. We decided to go to an Indian store the other day, and so we've got some extra chips that are done by Lay's that are magic masala, and they're just, hey, we got a cup of cold water that's right here. Guess what? Our minute is up. Alexa, stop. Wouldn't it be cool if we could look at this crazy pandemic and say stop? Wouldn't it be awesome if in the world of chaos where we're trying to cover up stains and fill our empty souls with chips or vindaloo sauce for good food? Wouldn't it be awesome if we had the power to make it all go away. Here's the reality. We don't. We know someone who can. We know in the midst of uncertain times, what we look for is certainty. And I would suggest to you that no matter where you come from, no matter what you're doing, there is certainty in this world. It's just not found on social media. It's not found on the news. We see a world that categorizes the chaos and showcases for us that chaos to try to get us to filter what we think. God's word talks about changing the way we think and talks about how our minds can be filled with those things that are good that come from above. Leah lied to you today. She said, "This is ugly." I've never seen an ugly moment in my wife's life. Even as we've gone through difficulties and challenges and faced hardships, we're moving the camera because apparently I'm too close up. You're welcome. Now you don't see the zits on my nose or whatever they are. But in the midst of the craziness, we can have an attitude that reflects the goodness that is around us. You ever notice that when you go to smell a rose, if you grab tightly, you're going to draw blood? Because amidst the beauty of a rose is also thorns. Now, none of us grab the rose. We don't grab it by the stem and try to bring it closer to us. We gently and cautiously move towards the beauty and the fragrance of the rose. I would suggest to you that in the midst of what we're going through, be careful on trying to grab a hold of trying to find some sort of goodness. Rather, approach lightly and graciously and find the beauty that is in this world that is around us. Had an opportunity yesterday, and I was filling our water jugs. Again, I know there's people from Alaska, Oregon, Washington, different places that are watching. I even saw from Missouri. I don't know what your tap water is like, but California's tap water, not so good. And so we purchase our water. And I know Bill Morris, my former associate in Washington, used to always say, "Who in the world would ever buy water?" Well, when you move to California, it becomes one of those things that's a necessity because the water otherwise is not so great. I know in other places in California, it's not horrible, but our water, not so good here in Rialto. And so we purchase our water. My son, my wife were in the grocery store, and a wonderful, lovely human being that we've come to know and befriend, Danielle, was talking with them, and she said, "Where is your husband?" And I had the chance to just simply through the door wave. And there she was on the other side, both hands doing this. It's amazing when you find that there is beauty found in just who you get to be around. And Nat Ian Wamanku, a friend of mine, posted something on Facebook, and there's a lot that's on Facebook that, man, you just need to kind of swipe and go, nope, don't need that. But I loved something that he said when he talked about making life simple. And if you remember last week, we kind of ended with that concept of an individual that had been given counsel about things that he should bring into his life and ways to change. And then when that individual went out with their friends on Friday night, he shared with his friends, these are some things that I think would make my life better. And all of them criticized that counsel that was given. And he wrote back to the individual that was giving counsel and said, whenever I tell my friends about these wonderful changes that I want to make in my life, they all criticize and laugh at me. And they wrote back and said that the answer is simple: stop going out with your friends on Friday night. We overcomplicate things when we get poor criticisms. Criticism is meant to challenge you and to shape you, but not all criticism is for your benefit. And I just love this little statement that was given again from Nat, a friend of ours, and he just said these simple things. It was again just a post that was on Facebook. I don't think it's originally from him. He reposted it, I'm pretty sure, but it just simply said this. It said, "Are you missing somebody? Call them. You want to meet up? Then invite someone. You want to be understood? Take time to explain. Do you have questions? then you need to ask. You don't like something, it's okay to say something about it. You do like something, then make sure that you state that you like it. You want something, all you got to do is ask. You love someone, take time to tell them. It's amazing how we as creatures of habit wait to be invited. We somehow feel like we're loved more or thought about more when we're invited. But if you kind of shift the paradigm, what if somebody's waiting for you to invite them? I just had surgery on Thursday and very uncomfortable. The last 3 days, I've spent most of my time sleeping. I took an opportunity yesterday to go with my family to say a happy birthday to David, and I had a taste of some shaved ice and realized very quickly that I couldn't do very much of that. Though it was sweet, I knew it was going to affect me physically, and so I had to refrain from that, which is just kind of an extra little bonus there for you. Sometimes not everything is sweet is necessarily beneficial to you. Be careful with that. What if in our lives, what we're waiting for is what we need to give? And in giving, maybe what we're waiting for will also be fulfilled. Why do we wait? Do we feel like we have nothing to give? Do we feel like we don't offer anything to humanity and we think that we're justified or verified by other people wanting us to be there? Guys, we are in this world together for a reason, and you are essential. There's a lot of talk about what is essential these days. I know that I have friends and relatives that are in other states where they're attending online, or no longer online service, but they're back physically at church. And here we are in California moving back to phase 2, being told once again that this is the best way for us to communicate. We see the rise of those that are getting sick. And I know that there's a lot of political issues that are going alongside of this. But at the same time, I personally know of individuals that have lost lives in the midst of this. I recently found out of a pastor and his wife that I co-served with in Washington that within 2 weeks' time of coming down with this coronavirus, within 2 weeks, both of them lost their life. And we could talk about all these things and, well, it's not as big of a deal, or it is a big of a deal. And, what good is it if our opinions agree? What good is it if our opinions disagree? We're still living in a world that needs people that care. I remember years ago, growing up on a farm, my grandfather had this idea, and his idea was if there's more daylight in the day, then that's an opportunity for us to make more money. And so we had not only the farming business, but my grandfather with the brothers or the sons and brothers and aunts, uncle, not so much aunts, but mostly uncles, myself, different ones. We all worked roofing. And I remember one day I was on the top of a roof and we were nailing down shingles. And as we were nailing down those shingles, I looked over and all of the shingles were wrapped in the binding that was the advertisement for the company that was the shingles that we used. And the company, I believe it still exists, but you don't see them so much anymore. But the company was named CertainTeed. And I remember thinking and asking my grandpa, CertainTeed, is that even a word? Grandpa, what does that word mean? And my grandfather just looked at it and then he looked at me, and I don't know that he actually knew, and I have not been able to verify that this is true, but it was just the wisdom that came from just the simplicity of the way Grandpa looked at things. And he said, well, I would guess that it's 2 words put together, certain and guaranteed. And I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking about what am I certain about that offers me a guarantee? And I think that you would agree with me that there's only a few things that are certain in this world. Now, I don't know what tomorrow holds. In fact, I'm not even certain that tomorrow will come. But I'm guaranteed, and I'm certain of the guarantee, that even if tomorrow doesn't come here in this place, we will go on. Our future will continue to be promised because of how wonderful God is. So I really through this process, and I feel like we've spent a lot of time. I'm going to grab some water here really quick. We've already spent some time this morning, but it's amazing to me how much Romans 12 has really just been an impact on my life. I've read it considerably through the number of weeks. In fact, Josh and I were just talking about this. We're at week 21 of the last time that I spoke in the building and the last time that we came together. And in just a few short weeks, we will literally have not been in a building together for half a year. And I could sit there and go, oh man, this is just such a bummer. Or I could look at this and say, last week we had over 320 views that watched this live video. We've had, throughout the number of weeks that we've met together online, greater opportunity that we've been able to communicate into your home or to wherever you're at. Some of you, how dare you? Some of you are out venturing and driving in your cars and going up into the woods to see beauty. You know what? What a cool thing to be able to have church, someone communicating to you about goodness while you're going out to try to find goodness. I know we shut everything down again. We were saying you can't go to movies, you can't go to the beach, you can't. You know what? There are still places that you can go to. Recently, Josh wanted to go on a hike, and we went to one of our favorite hiking areas, and it said right on this big sign, trail closed because of COVID-19. And we were just kind of like, okay. And so we drove around to another obscure area, and I said, guess what? The deer and the elk don't care. Let's find a deer trail. And so we looked off in the distance, and sure enough, in one of the forested areas that we were at, we decided to hop off a hill and picked up one of the closest deer trails, and we went into some of the most remotest areas of the forest that otherwise other people would not have seen. There we found berries. There we found all kinds of beauty that was surrounded because of the goodness that was available to us. There are people telling you no. And last week we talked about the importance of what we what we know, what we say no to. We need to be careful with our yeses, we need to be careful with our nos, but we also need to understand that there are places and there are moments that are good that give us the opportunity to say, in this I find joy. So Paul's writing in the book of Romans, he's writing to the place of Rome, and he talks about the privilege and the authority that God has given him. And I really just relate to that because I understand that the fact that you're listening to me, it's a privilege because I don't deserve the right. I mean, I can't call you up and say, hey, get online because I'm going to go and talk to you right now. You tuned in because of your choice, and some of you will tune in later because of your choice. What a privilege that is, and yet also what authority God's given Leah and I to communicate with you about goodness. And that's why we keep going back to goodness, because if there's an authority that exists in this universe, wouldn't you believe that he wants us to find goodness? This isn't about, what we're going through isn't God's way of saying, ha, 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 you're just a pawn. He's saying, will you trust me? Will you still look to me in the midst of a world that is chaotic? And Paul writes, he says, because of the privilege and authority God has given me, he then says, I want to give you a warning. Now, we're not quick because of, again, we keep talking about, hey, we want to be good. We want to talk about the good things. And so I don't get on here and I don't usually get up here and say, okay, wait a second. I want to warn you. But I thought it was something that was indicative of where we're at. And he just simply said, this is the warning. So you ready for this? You might think he's warning, don't sin, don't this, don't that. And he comes in and he just says this. He says, here's the warning. He says, don't think you're better than you really are. There's that return to reality about yourself. Now, I'm not trying to put you down, and I'm not trying to say you're pathetic. I don't think Paul's trying to say that. But he goes on to say, he says, be honest in your evaluation of yourself. And then he says, measure yourself by the faith God has given you. Measure yourself by the faith God has given you. Now I want to go back. Before Romans, you find in Scripture that there's this story about a man by the name of Elijah. And Elijah, we understand, is very much a prophet that did some incredible things. In fact, this is just after he has had a contest against the prophets of Baal. It's where he's on the mountainside and they're trying to get fire to come down and consume their sacrifice. And he says, hey, maybe your God's asleep, or maybe your God's in the bathroom. Maybe you need to shout louder to wake him up. And then he steps up and he says, God, may it be known today that you are God, and fire falls from heaven. And right after that moment, he goes onto a mountaintop and he says this. He says, I am the only one left. He cries out to God and he says, God, I'm serving you, but I'm the only one left. I'm the only one that is crying out to you and standing for you. And he literally says, and now the ones that are pursuing me are trying to kill me too. And God gave him a reply. And his reply was simply this. Now I want to go back to the verse that we talked about in Romans 12, because again, it talks about to be honest in your evaluation of yourself. And so when Elijah was on the mountaintop, he evaluated himself and he said, I'm the only one left. I'm the only one that feels this way. And in the midst of what we're going through, you may feel you're the only one that's feeling the way you feel. And he cries out to God, be honest in your evaluation of yourself. Measure yourself by the faith. So here's the real question, guys. I know I'm bouncing back and forth between Romans 11 and Romans 12. Where's your faith? What do you believe? I was reminded a couple of days ago on YouVersion on one of their daily devotionals, it says that God makes a paradigm shift on what we believe. And he says simply this. Seeing is not believing. Believing is seeing. What do you mean? Jesus said, can I heal you? He says it's according to your faith. Faith, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. I don't know what you're holding tightly to in the midst of what we're going through, but this one thing I'm sure for me, I'm certain that my faith guarantees me a hope. And I want to challenge you with that today. I want to challenge you to shift the paradigm, to say it's not what I see, but it's what I believe that allows me to see. And so here's what's interesting. Elijah's crying out to God. And he says, they're trying to kill me. I'm the only one left. And then God says something. And you've probably read this story. I've read this story since I was a little boy. And it was just last night when I was preparing for this that even though I was referencing between the story of Elijah and the story in Romans 12, between Romans 11 and Romans 12, I remember looking at this and all of a sudden it popped. And it popped on me like never before. And here's what popped on me. When Elijah said to God, God, I'm the only one left. God said, no. I have 7,000. I've never caught that before. It's a number. It's literally a number that God uses in context of a story. God speaking, and he draws in a number. And he says 7,000. How many people were alive during Elijah's time? It would seem to me that there were far more than 7,000 people. Was it 1% of the population? But God puts a number on how many people have not bowed to Baal. 7,000? That seems small. Were there really hundreds of thousands that were bowing to Baal? And yet God says 7,000 are significant that have not bowed to this god Baal. And then God speaks to Elijah and says, prepare yourself for a journey. Guys, I don't know how many people are really serving what really should be served right now. We talk about evaluating ourselves, and sometimes we think of ourselves more highly than we should when we start saying that our opinion, I know the popular thing right now is to say is unpopular opinion. You know what? Unpopular or popular opinion, it doesn't matter. What matters is what God is doing. What matters is the reality that we live in. And as we evaluate ourselves on the basis of faith, let's believe that God has a promise that there is hope. And there is yet work to be done. I want to be part of the number that God counts. I don't know what that number is, but I want to be part of the number that God counts as saying they have not bowed to the ridiculousness of just what we feel or what we think. But they have decided to serve me no matter what the cost. I want to be counted. I want to be part of that number. And I don't know why that number, 7,000, stood out so dramatically to me, but it just made me stop and think, what is the number of people right now that are in the world? Guys, this is not just an American situation. I know there are other countries, they've gone back to school, and there's statistics about what's happening with the kids that are in those schools that are just, there's a lot of information. But wouldn't it be awesome to be part of the information that in the end stood the test to say I was counted as the number that decided I would evaluate myself on the basis of the faith that would make a difference in the world that I currently live in? You and I get that decision. I was looking at a few quotes and again thinking about my grandfather saying that those shingles were, you could be certain that they were guaranteed that if it somehow didn't last, that they were going to provide back for you the coverage of making sure that your roof would last. And I was thinking about certainty, and I loved a quote that I found. It said, "Find everything that you are certain about, and with everything else, be certain that you're uncertain." With everything else, be certain that you're uncertain, that you just don't fully know. Because when we seek truth, when we pursue it, when we trust in the Lord with all of our heart, and we don't lean on what our understanding is, in all of our ways we acknowledge Him, God's Word says He directs our path. There's a lot to be uncertain about, but what can we be certain about? As I acknowledge Him, He'll direct. Are you missing somebody? Call them. You want to meet up? Don't wait for an invitation. Invite. You want to be understood? Take time to explain what you're thinking. You have questions? Take time to ask. You don't like something? It's okay to say something about it. You like something? Make sure you say that you like it. You want something? Don't steal it. Ask for it. If you love someone, tell them. Today's a good day. Today's an opportunity. How many times have we come back to this platform and said, are we paying attention? Are we believing that there is good in a good world that God has created? Guys, we love you. My son, Josh was the only one here. Jessica, Gus, I hope you're out of bed wherever you're at. Good morning. All those other ones that have tuned in. I wanted to play a song, but because of copyright infringement, which we've already had some challenges with in the midst of this, I wanted to play a song that was just simply called Easy Street. Walking on Easy Street. It's a silly song. But you know what? We can choose to celebrate, because even in the midst of crazy, sometimes crazy's good. You know what? Lee and I got up at 6, not 4:30. That's kind of nice. I love coming to you through this form of medium, and I miss you, and I've been able to say hello in different ways. And again, just a shout out to all of you that are out there, and I just want to say we love you, and we're in this together. Miss you. And here's my open invitation. Are you ready for it? While I can't have you all come to my house, you're all welcome in my heart. And I love you, and I will continue. Guys, can I just say one last thing real quickly? Don't lose relationships because of feelings in the midst of a pandemic. Your relationships are of more value than the crazy opinions that are being touted on social media. We need each other. I love you guys. Have a good day.